recording. We're good. We are recording. Sounds good.
Hi.
Hi. So,
Hi.
welcome back to Self Care is My Job. I'm here with a special friend, Renee Jensen from 1111 Healing, and the podcast host of Intuitive AF Squared.
Squared.
Square. I'm like,
Yes.
no, no question mark. Squared.
Squared. Intuitive AF squared.
I love it. So, this is amazing because this is one of many connections that I have in my life that comes back every now and again. And I love these
Mm-hmm.
type of relationships and friendships where we can just kind of like mosey, we grow, we reconnect, and look at that. There's something new to connect
It's
on.
like
There's
we
something
never,
new.
yeah, it's like we never, when we get back together, it's like it hasn't been whatever it's been like, 5 or 6 years,
It's crazy, right? But it's, and there's been a few people that I've interviewed on the podcast that almost all actually that I initially connected to online.
Mm-hmm.
And whether they're physically actually local like you are
Mm-hmm.
or far,
Mm-hmm.
like my brand designer who we've done a couple recordings is in Asheville, North Carolina, for example. I met her online and then eventually went out to meet her in person because there were other things to do and go to. And I was like, regardless, like I am in like a weird social media moment right now, admittedly, but there are
What's weird about it?
pros. There are pros to being able to connect, right, via social
Yeah,
media.
yeah.
Oh, I am legitimately like when I tell you that my body rebelled from social media over the last couple of months specifically, like if we're talking about when it actually was like really, really manifesting, when I tell you that my body was like saying no, I am not joking.
I
And
get
it was
it.
like coming, when something is like festering and it's like, this ain't right, ain't right, ain't right. And then there's been a lot of stuff I've been dealing with my gut lately
Mm-hmm.
that hasn't, like I'm seeking all the things that it could be the root, could be rooted in. And that just kept coming up. So Facebook and Instagram were removed from my phone as far as the apps themselves. Like I didn't delete my accounts or anything, but
Right, right.
apps were removed from my phone as of, I believe, 2.5, 3 weeks ago.
Whoa.
I I haven't really been, like I've been checking what I need to check, like on the browser, like just like, oh, like I sent somebody a message. I
You
want
have
to
so
see what
much
they said.
posting going on. Like how you doing it by yourself or somebody else is doing it and tagging you?
No, nobody is doing anything. Like I said, I'll pop on the browser. I will post something if I need to.
Wow.
That way it's not, the app is not on my phone.
Mhm.
And also, duh, like I was getting a massage the other day and I was talking to my massage therapist about this and he was like, "Oh yeah, I just do it when I'm sitting with my iPad because I have the apps on my
Right.
iPad." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Duh." I'm like, "That's a great idea because I only, touch
Sure.
base with my iPad, I don't know, like a couple times a week. So that's
Yeah.
perfect."
Yep.
Um,
It is a lot. Social media is a lot when you have a business and you're an entrepreneur. It's like you can't it's really hard to try to break away from it.
yeah, it's really nuts. So it's just one of many things I've been doing lately to, what is like, it's like I'm retracting
No,
energy.
you're cleansing all the yuck out that comes
Yeah.
with social media.
Yeah.
You have to be so grounded to be on social media every single day. You have to like, I don't know. I mean, you have to really, really love, not saying you don't, but you have to really, really love and be passionate about what it is that you're doing with your social media when it comes to your business so it doesn't feel like a job. And then number two, especially like people like us, I don't know about you, but people schedule these social media posting days and stuff like that. Like I don't work like that. I would say, and it's crazy because one of my mini
Nope.
jobs on the side is I'm a social media manager and I sit all day and I put somebody's social media together and I laugh because it's like schedule, 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 schedule. And I'm like, wow, this is great. And then for me, I work so intuitively that I don't schedule those days in for myself, which is nuts. But having to be grounded and filter through all the garbage nonsense on social media is the problem. Like I've been able to somehow fine tune my algorithm so like I'm not really seeing a lot of stuff, or I've gotten to the point where, I don't even know how many months ago I was so invested in everything that was going on in the world and where I kind of fit into it. And I was like over the top. And I had to be like, all right, you know what's going on in the world. You know how you feel about it. Keep your finger on the pulse of the important stuff. And then like I had to somehow look and watch a lot of different things. So then when I turn on my social media, all that stuff is not like flooding my feed. So it's like you have to like manipulate social media so to work for you.
Yeah, completely. And that's, so I try to focus on the good, that
Mhm.
there are connections that can be
Mhm.
made and maintained. Um, but the overwhelm and overstimulation of it, and it's not even the consuming. So that's on the consuming side, right? But on the creation side,
Mhm.
um, one of the things that my ADHD, that my amazing creative ADHD brain does, is there is a flood of creative, inspired, um, potential content, right? That is just like constantly,
Mhm.
swirling and
Yep.
coming in and out and in and out and in and out. And the only way that I can explain it is how it literally, visually, and viscerally feels for me, right? And that's beautiful. But the problem comes where I get very overwhelmed with how to take all of that and convey it in a way that is digestible,
Mhm.
the way that people like to consume.
Mhm.
And so then I just don't. But, and so it's funny because most people go, "Oh my God, but you're so active on social media." And I'm like, yeah, it takes so much for me to reel that in and put it in that package, that it's like, but it also takes so much. It doesn't even, so then people would say, right, like, "Oh, well, just get on and talk." And I do that sometimes too. But even that creates like a freeze response in me sometimes. Where
Yeah.
I'm like, but
Yeah.
how? There's
Yeah.
so much that I want to talk about and I want to go into, that I don't even know how to
Yeah.
do that right now.
I totally relate to
So,
that. I usually have to just be like I just have to be like, just go do it, whatever. Try not to think about it. Just do it and push through it because I go through that every single time. I've been doing social media. I've been front facing for so long, and I don't know. It depends on what's going on in your body, like you said, like clearing out your nervous system or whatever. But I go through that probably 70% of the time when I'm sticking a phone in my face. I need to hit record.
yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And so it's really no surprise that we started talking about this topic, because the reality is that we are both relatively active, because we're entrepreneurs and we're in the self-care healing realm, and we
Hmm.
need to have and one of the ways that I heard recently it being described, which kind of made me feel like, okay, like if I take a break and then I come back in and I look at it a different way and I approach it a different way, I was hearing it referred to as service media versus social media. And for
I
me,
love that.
hello.
Yes.
So I kind of loved that because when I mean, I am a very social person. I'm extremely, in fact, the way that you're going to get all of these passionate creative ideas from me is actually in person. That's when you're
Mhm.
going to get it. And I'm actually, like, if you're ready to listen, I am ready to tell you. Everybody knows that, right? Like, in person, you're going to get from me. But to be able to like we said, deliver it in this package and convey it in a certain way where it's approachable and digestible and everything, it's like a whole different animal, a whole different
Well,
process.
I mean, it's because like you're talking about, you're saying like ADHD and I have CPTSD. It's like your brain and your nervous system, they do a thing. And, like when I talk about my PTSD and I talk about how the brain, my cognitive functioning versus my intuitive functioning is like, wow. But my cognitive functioning, it's a brain injury. Like I recently, probably in the last couple of months, was reading up on some things and they literally define CPTSD as a brain injury. And so I said, wow, that is so accurate is what it was. It just put a word, and other people might think it sounds ridiculous because injury, it's like you wouldn't think that, but it is. Like your brain operates on a whole other level, and it really it's hard like to function with
Yeah.
something like that when you're in your freeze mode, survival, fight or flight mode or whatever. Yeah, it can be very
When
hard.
there is that disconnection, essentially. So
Mhm.
I can relate to that, and I'm intrigued by what you're saying. It reminds me of a lot of what I talk about with my clients. You know, people have feels around the idea of trauma, right? And just to be clear for anyone who's listening, CPTSD, complex post-traumatic
Like stress disorder.
stress disorder.
Mhm.
Um, so traumatic stress disorder, and relating that to the idea of trauma, right? And trauma, most people think like traumatic event or
Big
traumatic
trauma.
injury,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
that would be a big T, right? Something that actually, physically there's an injury, there's a disaster, there's something that's like there. But regardless, what that actually is, if you take it out, if you take that word of trauma out and replace it with wound, right? So you have a wound. So what you were saying, you were using the word injury.
Yes. Thank
So,
you. I like that.
it's really the wound. So yes, there
Mhm.
are traumatic experiences and traumatic injuries and those things that are actually the
Mhm.
actual moment, the occurrence, right? But what most of us are discussing, especially when we're talking about it from a pathology a medical or diagnosis, we're talking about the trauma, the wound. So it is an injury, is my point. And it could be an injury to your psyche, to your your psychosomatic, to your social emotional, all of the above, because none of them are separate from each other. That's another thing that
Mhm.
we're all kind of like, like going through this process of like uncomfortably trying to
Yep.
like deprogram out of the idea that like my brain and my body, my brain and my it's the same. And that's why we talk about the nervous system, because that really is the connection between the two. I don't know about you, this is just coming up for me, so I'll say it. Like, do you remember when we were in school and like you learned about all the systems?
Mhm.
Right? You learned about your
Mhm.
circulatory, you learned about your skeletal, you learned about your muscular.
Mhm.
Do you remember learning about your nervous system? Because
No. I
I
mean,
feel
I think it
like,
probably got mentioned, but was kind of back here. Yeah.
right, but I always like, it was coming up for me right now because I always think it's funny. I'm like, but like, I don't understand why it took till my, mid 30s to learn about this major connection point, whether that was intentional or not, that we are sort of not given the tools here. But just so we're clear, when we talk about the nervous system, there's central nervous system, there's
Mhm.
your peripheral nervous system, there's all these
Mhm.
parts, which we don't have to go into, but just think brain and vagus nerve, right?
Mhm.
Those are like the two big ones, right? Your central nervous system. So when we're talking about your vagus nerve that connects from your gut up through your heart, up all the way to your brain stem, right? And then your brain, which is really like the CPU, most people know that, right? Like it's like housing all this information. And if it's housing all this information, the information is actually based on experiences. And the experience might have been translated and stored in a way because it was so traumatic that actually wasn't in alignment with like what was supposed to happen or what could have happened or what would have been a healthy way to process something. And now we're stuck with a storyline and a program and a pattern around something that wasn't able to really like play out in a healthy way. And that storyline, that response is just traveling down. I mean, this is not a definitive way to explain it, but just imagine
There's
like,
so many different ways to explain it,
right,
but
this is
you're
not
what
the
you're
definitive,
no, but
yeah.
you know what? The way that you explain it is very grounded and you can understand it. And then, what I learned in 8 years of being a Reiki practitioner is that a lot I would say there are many, many people in the spiritual, intuitive, psychic space that are very obviously like trained and very connected to energy and the light and all of that. But our souls, energy, consciousness, we are here having a human experience and we are in a human body. And you have to pay attention to what is going on in the human body. The human body is directly connected to all the energy stuff, all the energy stuff, all the soul stuff. And if you don't recognize what's going on in all of that, like I could literally illustrate how energy, inner child, intuition, I could directly connect it and illustrate it to everything that you just talked about. But if you don't recognize what's going on with your actual body, the energy stuff doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Hmm. I think it's great that you're saying that because um, I will often, again, I find this with friends, clients, where I have to say things sometimes like, I know you want to connect to your guides, and I know that you want to feel connected. What you're really seeking is connection. That's the real thing. So we can go into the spiritual self care. We can pull our cards and we can have our energy healing sessions and we can do all of those things. But if you're not present in your body, then whatever type of like healing you can and sort of evolution internally that you
It
can
is
glean from
finite.
all of
You
these
hit a
pieces of
ceiling.
self-care are sort of going to be null and void because you're not really acting and noticing what's going on inside of you. You're not really
Hmm.
acting from this space. You're acting from
100%.
more of a seeking, like I'm seeking connection, right? Outside of myself still. But no wonder, because that's what we're
Yeah.
programmed to do. We're literally
Well, we're
we're
here to
taught
have a
that
human
all of what we
experience.
need is outside of us,
Yep. Then we're here to have a human experience. So we gotta, as above, so below.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, so I'll often get to that point where I'm like, I get it. Like I get that need for seeking connection and meaning, like find like
Oh my gosh,
meaning
meaning,
making.
purpose. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I really get that. And it's interesting because it's my experience too. Like you start there and then you go, wait a second. Now now everything is starting to come back to a central point of like, what about me?
It's
I'm
always about
still
me.
going after connection through this mode or this mode or this
Hmm.
mode.
Hmm.
Um, in our friendships, on all of our relationships, which, as we know, relationships are everything, right?
Hmm.
Literally, like through your whole life. That's
Hmm.
your whole day.
Relationships and money.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about that too. Um, so it's perfect because I often, like it's perfect. What I mean by that is coming from a Reiki practitioner, right? Coming from someone who talks about intuition, you know, saying like, do not bypass the body. Do
You
not
cannot.
bypass the
You
actual
cannot.
sensations, the actual experience, because not only is that actually, it is a symptom, right? Like a lot of times we talk about, people will come to me and they say, I have like this, this diagnosis, that's all well and good. I think that everybody should take care of themselves from different areas and have, an understanding of meeting themselves where they're at. But the
Hmm.
reality is if we can't connect to what's going on inside, those are your those are your messages. Those are your messages. And the other piece, and this comes back, hopefully we can kind of segue into like the intuition piece here, because the thing that you were saying, like the way that I explained trauma before is like very grounding, like, or,
Hmm.
simplified in a way. Like I kind of do that a lot with people because mostly because I have, like my inner child still has a fear of being misunderstood. So when I go on a blah, 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 right, I wonder whether I am, just like shooting over everyone's head and
Like,
like,
oh yeah,
I'm missing the
right,
mark and it's
right,
not
right.
sinking in. So a lot of times,
Am
like,
I
if,
really doing this for you, or am I saying this for me? I'm
right,
not
like,
really
is
sure right
this
now.
right? Is this landing right? Like,
Yeah.
and like when people like me and you, we just want to help. So it's like
Yes.
if it's not landing, then it's like for naught, like it's like literally for nothing. So what I always try to do is like, okay, but you know what? Actually, drum it down, drum it down, drum it down, drum it down. Do you know what actually the most important part of that connection to your internal experiences? So just so that or at least my opinion, is that you can just practice trusting yourself.
Mhm.
I don't care what's coming up. It's real. It's not like, oh, because I don't know about you, but I had to deprogram and decondition my whole brain and body from the response, constant chatter and response of like, oh, but that's not real. Oh, but that's not. Oh, like basically like the trauma of being gaslit,
Mhm.
of and then of continuing to gaslight yourself of like,
Mhm.
oh, but like what about this? Or distracting yourself or, you know, well, that's only because this or that.
Mhm.
It's real. And also not to constantly overthink and question what your experience
Mhm.
is. Your experience is your experience. The
Mhm.
more that we suppress it, or push it down, or squash it, or explain it away, or gaslight ourselves out of it, the more disconnected we become. So then
Mhm.
you get the seeking, right? Oh, I need, and then in our relationships, right? We're like,
Mhm.
oh, love me, help me, blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
stay, stay, stay. Yeah, because you're not trusting yourself. That is literally like essentially like that's my story. So this is all I want to help people with constantly, where it's like, can you trust yourself?
Yeah, I
You
mean,
love
I
me?
have the two, I would say one of the two of the most important energy centers, chakras is, your actually your third eye and your solar plexus. So you've got this, which is essentially, connected up here near the brain and the intuition center. And then you've got your gut right here. This is in the belly. And I always say this is your spiritual gut instinct. It is your connection to your inner knowing. And then this here, your solar, is your physical gut instinct. It is your ability to trust yourself, empower yourself, take action. It's the yin, the yang, the feminine, the masculine, and there has to be an equal. There has to be a balance of both, as above, so below. Because what happens is either you are very connected, you think a lot, to all this knowing. You have to kind of differentiate, like if knowing's coming from fear, coming from, higher self. But here is your inner knowing, to say spirit and faith and whatnot. Here is 100% all about you. Because if you have all the knowing and you got to do something, but here you're disconnected and you don't trust yourself, you're not empowered, you have insecurity issues, whatever it is, you won't take action on it. So a lot of people either no, 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 and then they become totally stagnant because they can't take action, or they're like me, who I used to be like this, where I could be very action oriented, jump into things immediately without the knowing, and then I find myself in oh crap moments and be like, oh, I should have known that. So yeah, it's very, this stuff is like, it's so important to
Yeah.
understand it. Hmm.
It is, and so it is the understand. That's another thing that I often talk with people about is like we're not sitting here, educating about trauma, educating about chakras, energy systems, all of these things just to hear ourselves talk.
Hmm.
We educate, or at least for me, like I always find myself like I am a teacher, I am an educator through and through. Anybody who works with me knows that they're getting light education throughout, and it's not again so that you can go write a book or something. It's so that there is a level of understanding, so that understanding can turn into like giving yourself grace and compassion,
Well,
so that you
you
don't
have
feel
to.
lost or disconnected.
Yeah, and I think that humans want instant gratification. They want, whether they spend $100 or they spend $10,000. I get all sorts of stories about that. People want to bypass the pain and the struggle. So what I recognize very early on in my Reiki practitioner journey is that, and actually totally connected 100% to my own personal journey, healing journey, is that I can do a Reiki treatment. Reiki is essentially clearing out, the energy systems of the body. You're cleansing out any sort of, like, what I say is energetic gunk or dirt that's in the energy system of the body. At the end of the day, whatever environment, what energy and whatever programming, whatever's going on, whether it be energy or the body, you came in with, you're going to go back out into that environment. And if you do not understand how all of this stuff, how you got feeling the way that you came in feeling, or with the situation that you're in,
Yeah.
and you or don't recognize this stuff, then when you go back out into your world, you're blind again, and you go through all the same patterns, all the same energy triggers, all the things, and you do the same things over and over and over again, and attracting the same things over and over and over again in experiences. So you have to be able to understand, or someone needs to be able to teach this in a very grounded way where you can apply it. Because I don't know about you, but in the spiritual space, and I went through this personally, there's a lot of aha moments, and there's a lot of enlightenment and everything, but I would hit a ceiling and be like, what is going on here? Because I'm getting all these connections and the spirit and all this, and the spirit guides, and I feel a little bit better after I go get my Reiki treatment. But then, it's like a week later, 2 weeks later, right? Somebody says something, I get into a fight with the boyfriend or whatever it is, and I just completely revert back, and I'm back to point A. And it's like, you have to co-create, you have to be part of your own processes, and you have to be able to shift your own energy when you leave this office. Like, you have to. And somebody's got to be, you have to, that's what we do. We teach. We have to teach people how to do that.
Yeah. And it also the other piece that I'm thinking of it as you're saying that is that it takes time and it
Oh
takes
my
patience.
gosh. Yeah, you cannot do anything overnight. Oh
So
my gosh.
that's what you started by saying, like people want instant gratification.
Yeah.
And so basically, and you might walk out very likely, right? You might walk out of a session with either one of us and feel much better, right? For the moment, right? But
Mm-hmm.
if you're not recognizing your own patterns, and you used a
Mm-hmm.
very key word, which I love this word, which is called co-creation.
Yes.
And I literally often refer to co-creation as the opposite of codependency, because basically co-creation is like, like if we were to drum it down, right? Like it's like we're literally creating this reality that we live in, as reality as it is, right? Whatever, we'll go off that, like, together, in an authentic, real way.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, if in this relationship I have the capacity to vulnerably and authentically communicate with you, and you have the capacity to show up as you are and communicate authentically your needs, desires, wants,
Magic
whatever,
ensues.
that's co-creation,
Yes.
because now we're living, we're real, right? But if we don't have the capacity to do that, nothing shifts. Like you said, it's literally like a hamster wheel. You'll just keep repeating the same patterns in your relationships, in the way that you communicate with people. You'll wonder why the same types of people show up in your life, the same experiences show up,
Well,
right? And the reason that I say it's like the opposite of codependency is because it really is. Like, if I can show up that way and we could really co create this existence together, now you are fully empowered and able to create your own
mm-hmm.
experience,
Yep.
versus literally being like at the mercy of someone else's shit, right? And someone else's needs, wants, desires, and at the mercy of your own triggers, your own trauma, your own
Mm-hmm.
reactionary responses and things like that, your own triggers. You know, I often refer to it as like, it's like navigating a minefield, where you're literally just like trying to avoid instead of like really living. So that co-creation piece is like so important. And then there's so many ways, that you
I
can
mean,
explain
I,
it.
co. I had to change the energy of a lot of words in the spiritual space, because when I was hitting a ceiling on what I was able to achieve long term,
Mm,
how I was taught, what I had been programmed with around, I would say, spirituality and whatnot, from my whole entire childhood, because I'm a Gen Xer. Co-create and manifest, like, in this world, like, people come to you to do a certain kind of healing work, they come to me to do a certain healing work, but a lot of people actually use the word manifest. So you look at manifest, and manifesting is, I guess, a spiritual practice, if you will, but it's no different than going to church and praying for something, right? And what is misunderstood is that when I manifest and I journal and I go, howl under the moon, and I put my stuff out into the universe, or I go to pray and I'm praying to God and doing my thing there, it's very separate. It's like, if I do this, I get this. If I did this, I did it the wrong way, then I get the bad thing. And it's not, that's not how it works. It's like, you are in constant communication and creation with whatever it is that you believe in. And you are essentially giving up your power when you look at the traditional, I would say, or the traditional way that most people look at manifesting is that, again, if I do this, I'll get this. If I didn't do this, and this bad thing happens to me. No, it's not. It's not that. It's not that at all. Like it's always a back and forth communication all the time, every single day. So I can use the word manifest. I understand what the word manifest means, but before I really could figure that out, when I figured that out, I said, wait a second, there's something about this word. And I was like, co-create. Like, you got to co-create. You have to
Mhm.
be part of the process. You have to be
Yeah,
able to do the hard work.
100%. And that's, that's the hard part. That's why it's called work. Like, it is not for the faint of heart. And so what
Mhm.
I also have noticed and continue to notice, right, is that the benefits of doing this work and manifesting, therefore,
Mhm.
right? So your, you know, hopes, dreams, desires can in fact manifest by doing this
Mhm.
work, by working on yourself, right? Because you get closer and closer to who you really are, what you really want. Your worthiness, grows and confirms for you over and over again. And now I can actually attract those things because I feel I deserve them and I feel I'm worthy of them. That's, so like, what's the point of doing all of this,
Oh my
right?
gosh, can I take it one
Freaking that.
level? Yeah, can I take it one step
Yes.
further?
Yes.
Like, yes, when you were just talking about like I attract these things, yes, you attract them, but you don't attract them alone because if you want to take it to the next level, spirit, I always call it the spirit team. My podcast producer and sister from another mister calls it Gus universe spirit, or I'm sorry, God universe spirit, or God universe soul, whatever you want to say. But like your spirit team is like made up of whatever it is that you believe in, your deceased loved ones, spirit guides, God universe, the table, whatever. But that attraction thing, it's not actually, yes, it's attraction, you can use that as a word, but it's spirit. Your spirit team is sending you the things as well. Like you're not, it's just not just popping, coming out of nowhere, like attracting something. It's like there is a constant communication with spirit. There's a give and take. Breadcrumbs, they drop you breadcrumbs, you follow them. When you follow them, then you're dropping breadcrumbs, and then they're following you and dropping more breadcrumbs. Like there is that attraction is actually like a symbiotic relationship with spirit. And when you are you are walking towards the path of purpose of your authentic self, spirit's like, yes. And then it's dropping you more breadcrumbs and dropping you the opportunities and the conversations. It's like really amazing. I've witnessed such amazing, magical stuff that no
100%.
one would believe,
I
over
could
the
not
last
agree with you
10
more.
years. Yeah.
Yeah, there are, and there are benefits to the work, as we're talking about. There are benefits to slowing down and starting to notice those crumbs, right? I call them, well, actually, the phrase glimmer moments, right, can mean
I
many.
love that. I love glimmers. That's amazing.
Yeah, they're glimmers. They can mean many things, but that's one of them. I always like kind of break it down into a few categories. Like your glimmer moment could just be a gratitude. It could just be like a moment of peace that you actually really let wash over you. Like
Mhm.
not like, "Oh, cool, I did that." No, like a moment of peace or a moment of achievement and, um self-trust and self-love that you really bask in, but
Mhm.
it could also be those synchronicities that pop up and you really, again, bask in it. You really notice it. You acknowledge that shit. The
Mhm.
more you acknowledge it, the more you're also practicing trusting yourself in those moments too because, let's just say, I don't know, weird example, right? Like you're in the coffee shop. This is my life. You're in the coffee shop and somebody says something and you're like, "Holy shit, I was just talking to so and so about I can't believe you said that and then
Mhm.
this happened." And that moment happens for you, right? And you're like, "Whoa." And many of us, if you didn't grow up clicking in and dropping into that, or you even had negative connotation around believing in any of that stuff, right? You will very quickly move on from it. But the more you practice like settling in, slowing down, checking in those moments. Okay. And how does that feel, by the way? How does that literally feel in your body in those moments? You tell me that doesn't feel like a little glimmer inside. Like it does. It feels like,
Mhm.
oh, something just clicked. That's a
Mhm.
aha, that's a like type of
Mhm.
experience. So those are the moments that you settle in because there is spirit present. But on the other flip side of it, there are also the moments where, again, we're talking about as above, so below, right? So you have spirit and an energetic manifestation happening. But then in the 3D world and in a more very grounded, step by step through your day thing, quite simply, and again, this is like my story, like when you can start to love yourself, trust yourself, and decondition out of any of the bullshit that is blocking you from doing any of that, what will happen naturally is you will express more authentically. And when you express more authentically and communicate your hopes, dreams, passions, ideas, creative endeavors, whatever, now in a 3D sense, those, and this is why it's relationships, it's all relationships, it's who you know, right? Those people or situations will also show up, right? Because, and again, could be spirit, sending it your way, but also how can you attract? How can you, yeah, it really, I
Well,
feel
yeah,
like
listen, in the
I feel like
3
attract
yeah,
maybe is
listen,
better for like the
in the 3
3D, right?
in the 3D
Yeah.
world, obviously, if you have boundaries versus not having boundaries, you're saying yes or
Yep.
no to the things that are good or bad or whatever it is. Obviously, like I would say from a non 5D perspective, people are going to show up and meet you where you're at. So if they're meeting you at like no boundaries, you're going to end up with in a lot of like toxic relationships, which I did a lot of my life because of what I went through in childhood. So it's like, yeah, in the 3D world, that yeah, this the actions and the and these things that you were talking about, like, yeah, absolutely. I would say not even from a 5D perspective, like you are going to attract into your life what's going to show up is what you say yes to,
Hmm.
essentially.
Yeah. And you
Yeah.
can't say yes to the things that you really are passionate and love and feel strongly about if we keep gaslighting ourselves and if we keep squashing it
Most people only
and we
know what they
can't get it
know.
out past this past the throat, right? Like if we
Yeah.
can't get it out, then
Yeah.
who's there to catch it, right? Nobody
Well,
can nobody can catch it and go, "Ooh, me too." You know?
the energy of truth will set you free, but the
Mm,
problem with truth is that truth comes with the energy of rejection. And so everybody
completely.
wears either a mask or two or masks out to here because speaking your truth and being authentic means that you could lose people in your life and you could lose, like you could lose money and you can lose all these things. But at the end of the day, spirit, this world, it will meet you where you're at, and you have to. I don't think like people come to me because yes, they come for Reiki, but on the psychic side, on the intuitive side, the card side, they also want that like that connection, that aha moment, and it's like you can create. I mean, you can create those moments for yourself. And what I do is when I work with people, I only see my clients unless they're really going through it. I only see my clients maybe two, maybe three times a year because I give them enough to work with. You get your cleansing, you get your aha moment. I'm going to give you the blueprint of where you've been, where you're at right now, and where you need to start walking right here. And you have to go out and create the evidence that this stuff is real in your own life. Nobody else can do that for you. And that is a very scary thing to do, is to actually put this stuff forward into faith because
Mhm.
nobody's going to create that. Nobody's going to create that reality for yourself, for you, but yourself. The only reason I believe, honestly, what I believe so strongly is because I have had to live it, and not just once or twice. I've had to repeat the same things that I've learned or I've taught myself or other people have taught me over and over and over again. And when you do it over and over and over and over again, and you're like, all right, I'm getting the same result, I'm like, this must be something. And then I've witnessed clients and witnessed people that I've taught who are willing to do the hard work and really center, come in here and be willing to not bypass pain and struggle. I've watched them create all of the same amazing stuff as well. So it's fascinating. I love that. I love this stuff.
I know. Me too. We can go on for days. Um, I do want to chat also about your podcast. So I don't want to
I'm
miss.
so happy with that. I'm so
Right.
happy about it and proud of it.
You should be. So tell us, how did this happen? How long has this been happening? What is this all about?
So intuitive AF squared, I went with a little bit of a little Gen Z theme with the intuitive AF. And it honestly, it was a download in my mind. So to me, I believe that most humans, not most, all humans are born with intuitive connection and are psychic. I use mine in my work and I'm like super, super plugged in. I tune into a really high frequency, but most people they are tuned in the minute that they're born, because I look at this thing here, this brain, as a processor. So most of what we've been taught about being psychic is like, you can see ghosts and you can see energy and you can hear voices and all that really super woo-woo stuff. But what I realized was that these voices that are going on in your head, there's two sides of it. There's cognitive functioning up here and there's intuitive functioning. And your brain is like, through your thoughts, there's a frequency that you're tuning into. So there's two schools of thought that are going on in your brain every single day. Fear, programming matrix, right? Higher self, purpose, leading you back to authenticity. So people are battling with these every single day. And whatever's going on in your mind, right? This is all because the energy of programming, this is actually connected to higher self and spirit, what you're hearing. So intuitive AF squared is essentially saying like, we are all intuitive and everything that's going on in here is not just cognitive. It's not just stuff you're coming up with. It's coming from the energy of this and the energy of that. Which one are we tuning into in order to get to the destinations on our path that I believe that we kind of put ourselves into this human experience for? Or what are we listening to that's taking us off our path? And so that's where I got the intuitive AF squared from. And it really brings all the energy stuff, the human body, spirit, all of it, like brings it together in a way that like makes sense. So that's why I call intuitive AF squared, because this is the square. This is like one side here, which we are following. I love it. It's so much fun. And it took me actually a few years to get it going, because I was actually going through a really tough time over the last few years. And I had that thing that you were talking about where I had my CPTSD and my brain was all over the place. And I would literally have like all these ideas. Like I would get all these downloads from the universe and my spirit team or whatever. But then all this stuff that I had to deal with was part of my journey that I had no control over, that was bringing up all the other side, all the triggering, all the fear, that was essentially sending really yucky signals from my brain down to my nervous system. Like I couldn't like put everything together. It was so hard. And then once when I was going through my tough time, I would always hear, it's like, everything's going to make sense one day. Everything's going to make sense one day. You just got to take it one day at a time. Everything's going to be all right. And then once I really got towards the end of that experience and that season that I was experiencing, like everything just started to like just coalesce and come together. And there was the podcast. So I'm pretty excited about it.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Like, I don't even think I was able, like, I don't think Spirit wanted me to do the podcast yet. Like, there were some things that needed to happen in my life, because when everything finally started to settle down, it's like everything, I would just get like downloads in my mind of like how to do the tech and how I was going to set it up. And everything just formed really, like, it was really smooth. And I don't think that was by accident. I really do think it was divine timing.
Yeah. Yeah. And that so often happens. Like I think that we are all, again, sort of trying to decondition out of this idea that everything needs to be rushed, everything needs to happen right now. There is like this sort of competitive dog eat dog also pattern that we have to decondition from, which is around, like if you don't take this idea and do something with it, somebody else is going to do it. There are so many stories.
I'm getting too old. I'm too old to do this in a few years. I got to do it now. Yeah, time is such a construct.
Really unreal.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
you know, another one that comes up for me is like, oh, you're so flaky. Now you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this.
Oh my
You know what
gosh,
I
that
mean?
is so my yes.
Meanwhile, does anybody
Yes.
actually ever say that to me? No.
Yes.
These are all
No.
just internal freaking dialogues. You know what they do say to me? I don't know how you
Mhm.
do it all. And I don't know, maybe they're just being nice and they really thinking you're all over the place. I don't know. All I know is that nobody actually ever says that to me. Oh my God, you're all over the place. No one says that to me. It's,
Mhm.
you know, maybe it was said once, maybe twice, long, long ago. And
Yeah,
that's what's
I've
freaking
definitely
stuck,
had people
right?
say it in nice ways.
Right, exactly. But it does, but the point is, it's like irrelevant. Even if it is,
Mhm.
it's irrelevant. These are stories, they are not truths. There is
Mhm.
no definitive rule somewhere written in the stars that says,
Mhm.
you had an idea, you better da da da, or you better do this before it's too late, and blah, blah, blah. And who cares if somebody else does it? Then, you know, so there's all these things, and I'm glad that you know, obviously have the capacity to just lean into the divine timing, give yourself grace, let it line up. And you know, you were making me think of the idea that like anytime, and this is really for like anyone who's listening, because I feel like that freeze, because of everything we just said, basically, that freeze response, it's a trauma response, comes in for so many people because it's just like whether it's the how or it's the too much or it's the fear of judgment, whatever the hell it is. Um, and the reality is that is coming up, whatever the barrier is, that is coming up, whatever the response is, that's actually the journey. It's the
Mhm.
same, like that's, again, that's the internal experience, right? Okay,
Mhm.
so lean into that. What can we learn from that? How can we grow from that? What needs to be processed and worked through?
Mhm.
That's what you got to focus on, because you're going to come out on the other side like 10 times stronger and more capable and more clear and more present and more embodied. Now it's time. Now it's time that you can actually show up and do that thing. You can give it your all. Yeah, there's a reason. Of course, there's a reason that you don't feel ready to. That's fine.
There is, I often say, because everyone wants to get from A to Z without having to go through all the rest of the alphabet.
Yeah.
And there is the energy of the knowing part, and there's the energy of the becoming part. I want to say becoming. I would say fruition. Like it's here. And the bridge between those two is the like living it. Like you have to live. There's stuff like if I like so you've known me since I did the moms group. When I first started that moms group, and it was really successful, in my mind
Yes.
back then, right? Like I had been through so much in my life, and back then I thought like I know what I'm doing, right? Like I know I've been through all this trauma, I've been did this, I've done that. Let me tell my story. Like I'm bringing all these women together. I'm so popular, you know, whatever. Which I shouldn't even say that. Being popular is not necessarily like the energy of that's not necessarily like calm, but my ego was just being like, oh yeah, you know, you could be the next Oprah, right? And it
Right.
was so funny because all the visions that I had that started with that mom's community were ultimately going to lead me to where I am right now. But when I was back there, right, if I was thinking too much about like fast forward,
Mm.
there's a bunch of stuff on that bridge that had to happen to get me to here. So it
Mhm.
was like a lot of things that happened because of the moms group, the people I connected to, the aha moments I had, the connections, the relationships, the money mindset stuff that I had to break down. Like there was a path that I had to like take everything that I learned from all those experiences to eventually come to this thing that I'm actually doing now. It was never my purpose at that moment was, but fast forward, it was never about like the moms group, right? It was about ultimately getting to doing what I'm doing now, which I didn't even like get into any of the spirituality stuff at all until I met moms from the moms group that were into it.
Mm.
I'd never gotten a card pulled. I'd never gotten energy cleansing, like none of that stuff. I grew up really Catholic. Like to
Right.
me, that stuff was scary. You know, you don't mess with like you don't mess with that stuff.
Yeah.
But when I started the moms group, I connected to a lot of women and I was thinking about my own life and opening up and I was like, I was like, what do I need to do? Because I'm only hitting a ceiling with my healing, and that's why I started dabbling in the spiritual space, which ultimately led me 10 years forward to where I'm at now. So sometimes there's stuff that you have to go through. You
Yeah.
have to go, you cannot bypass the work to get to the thing that you know to be true is in the future, but everybody just wants it now. They want it now.
Yeah. Well, again, the work is letting go of, who's the who's the character from Charlie and the Chocolate? I want it now.
Oh
Like,
my
and
gosh.
and who
Was that not Veruca
I
Salt?
Veruca Salt.
Veruca
I just
Salt.
heard it and I was like, that's what it is. I don't
I
care
want it
how.
now.
So
Yeah.
basically, and who does that? Let's just pause for a second. I want
Mhm.
it now. Who does that sound like? I mean, aside from Veruca Salt, it sounds like a child. And so a lot of us are kind of stuck in a space where we need to, like, again, that journey that we've been talking about this whole time, like you're going through and you're learning and you're meeting this person and you're being inspired and you're like, oh, what about this? It's a journey. So we're all just growing up, is my point.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we will stay stuck in that spot, right? Of, we're in our little cage, in our little box of our stories. And one of those stories is needing it now, and you're stuck there. There's a reason why we have that. Think of the energy, right? Also of I need it now is very like activated, very sympathetic energy, very fight or flight, very reactive, right?
It's
A lot of
survival.
us just simply need one modality, method, or approach or another of the work and support, the support system, whether it's your coach or your energy healer or whatever it is. We're not meant to do this work alone, but we need that support and we need that container and we need to do the work so that we can move beyond and we can
Yep.
grow out of that, sort of like, again, navigating our trauma, throwing mini tantrums. I'll still throw a tantrum, don't get me
That
wrong.
is called your inner, I always say, your inner child throws a tantrum. But I mean, like,
Yep.
listen, I go to therapy too. I have a therapist as well, like a
100%
therapist
ditto.
that I
Actually,
love.
1 o'clock
Yeah.
today.
Love it.
I am absolutely with you. So this is amazing. I hope that, whoever's listening to this is, gleaning even what I am, and I hope you are in this conversation. It is the journey and it is the work and it is trusting yourself so that you can go on
Mhm.
that journey and you can meet those people and you can have that pathway into where you're really, really meant to be,
Mhm. Yes.
even if it looks starkly different than where you are right now. I can tell you, and I know that you can relate to this too. That journey will take you places that you might not have initially intended for you to go. That trusting yourself is obviously part of that journey because how else are we going to get there?
Yeah, and
Um,
sometimes you're supposed to go. You have to go through the hard stuff
oh,
to get to the place. Like you can't bypass it because it's actually part of the journey. There's not anything that I've gone through that I can say like, "Oh, you know what? Couldn't take that we didn't need that to get to here." No, and it was it was actually all the hard stuff that I needed to get to who I am and where I'm at. Like not the good stuff, the
absolutely.
bad stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
it's about being conscious, right? So like the
Yeah.
more the more connected to the more reconnected, right, and present you become, the more conscious you become. And what I mean by that is actually being self-aware
Mhm.
and note, like you said, when people walk out of your session and it's like, well, now you have to like pay attention now. You can't just like go back to everything you were doing, right? So now you're conscious, right? So the hard stuff actually becomes way more apparent, and that's why people, it's discouraging at times because it's like, oh no, it's like that moment where you're like, well, now I know this and I can't unsee it. Damn, now there's no turning back. You are gonna know when something is off, and you are going to, with grace, give yourself whatever that next step is, But, there are those moments where it's like, well, now I can't unknow and unsee this. So now I'm on the
When you
path.
say no, when you really consciously say yes to consciously say yes to this stuff, in whatever way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be in like the work that I do. It can be in anything. But when you say yes to the universe, and I often tell my Reiki students at the very beginning, I said, listen, I said, you're saying yes to this beautiful, loving, healing, light, and love, and all this stuff. But when you say yes to it, it means that you're going to have to break down all this stuff that's not yours. And that means when you do that and you become you're a truth seeker and you speak your truth and you live your truth, that like things that do not fit that body, that energy, whatever it is anymore, you're gonna see things start to die out in your life. When I say die out, I just mean like the shedding, right? You're going to see that. So like that is like buyers beware, just so you know when you come to my class, because I'm going to tell you on the front end, if you say yes to this, you have to be willing to know that spirit is going to work with you to shed the stuff that you don't want. And it would be great if you could just I could just give myself some Reiki or come to a session with you and do somatic healing. And then all of a sudden that bad stuff just is gone without, but, and it's interesting when you say yes to the journey as well, because I think that we're all interconnected. So it's like when you say yes to the journey, for instance, if I say yes to this and I'm in like a bad relationship, right? That I'm just like have blinders on about. And I really truly say to the universe, like, hey, I want to become the most best version of my authentic self, like right now. Whatever you need to send to me, just send it. Kick me in the teeth, whatever it is. I can't live like this anymore. And then let's just say, in 2 weeks, boyfriend wants to break up or boyfriend's having an affair or something that comes, and you're like, oh my God, like, oh my God, this is the most horrible thing on the face of the earth. Yes. In the 3D, in the human world, yes, it's horrible. But you asked for things to get better. And if you're sitting in a space where it's like, this is not going to, like, sometimes the universe has to come in when you say yes, because you can't do it. You're not ready to do it for yourself yet, and remove it for you. So it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. That's why this whole journey can be so slow going.
Yeah. Patience and support. Like, again, I always tell people, it's like, yeah, you can get, like a lot of us are like very self-aware. I'm a Virgo. Like, I do not let nothing slide. I'm gonna notice. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. I'm a
you think
Scorpio,
I'm
so
critical of everything else? I'm more critical
yeah.
of what's going on here
Yeah.
24/7. So like, I give that as an example because it's like I ain't gonna miss nothing, and it's not easy for that reason once you're there and you're self-aware. But so you think, well, because I'm so self-aware, I'll just like naturally evolve. But this is part of why having a container and having a support system, whether it is a coach, a therapist, an energy healer, or all of the above,
Your
like some
friends, your
of us have.
family, whoever. Yeah.
And sometimes that's accessible, sometimes it's not, sometimes it has to be a certain way. But point being, your support circle is so important because it isn't going to be easy. A lot of times when you have that breakdown before the breakthrough, like, hey, you asked for answers, you're getting them. And I repeat that phrase on loop for people: breakdown before the breakthrough, because it's my experience through and through every freaking time. I'm literally just coming out of what feels like, 2-3 month vortex of like, what the hell? So it's always breakdown before the breakthrough. But in that breakdown, boy, do you forget that. You can forget it entirely, and it feels so fucking heavy and so
You
hard.
know what's really
The reason,
interesting?
yeah,
You know what's
the
really
reason, by the way, is because there's grief that comes along with that shedding. I mean, when you're shedding, it's still loss, right? Like, even if it is the shedding and it is like the boyfriend cheating or whatever, like, any type of shedding is still loss.
two
And then
things can be
anytime you
true
have
at the same
loss, you have
time.
grief.
Yeah,
Yeah,
two things can be true at the same time. I mean, you
that's
have to, you know what I
100%.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I question this. I was reading something about how your brain, you can't be ungrateful or resentful and be grateful at the same time. And I call total BS about that, because I can absolutely be upset about something or resentful or ungrateful about something, but in the same breath be like, you know what? I don't like this, but I've got this. This is okay. Like I don't I think that sometimes like toxic positivity is a real thing out there, and I think that where people are and where they get lost, and really what the problem with the whole entire world right now is that no one wants to step into the nuance. They don't want to step into the gray. It's either right or left, black or white, right or wrong, and that's it. And there's right and wrong to everything out there, right? And like, so there's like this huge like nuanced space where it's like it doesn't have to be this or that, you know? You just have to like filter through all of it and take the good pieces and put the bad pieces. And it's hard for the human mind to comprehend that. I'm sure there is something to be said. I'm sure there's studies or whatever out there about, oh, you can't be grateful and, you know, ungrateful at the same time. But I would
This
say I'm living
neuron
proof that
can't
I think you
fire at
can.
the same time as this neuron or whatever.
Yeah. Yep.
I know I'm guilty of that. Again, my earth energy loves all of that very grounded scientific, those
I
facts.
love
I
it.
really love those
Hmm.
facts. Um, but sometimes it's very true, especially when in the world full circle of social media, where you could come up with a phrase that's around a concept and it sounds really good. So you're going to post it. And then it's like, misinformation. Like,
I know.
misinformation. That's confusing two different things, or and so often, I want to be that person who's like, excuse me, I don't think so. And we can't really always do that because then we're always activated or whatever. It's hard. That's why part of this is hard, of being in connection and wanting to like be a part of this like collective learning experience that we're all going through, without being like, oh my God, and like being triggered all day by it, right?
Well, I
So we
think
have
that
to
being a
decide
teacher
that.
as well, like when you're a teacher, there's the energy. I always look at this changed my life. I just look at the energy of something and I'm like, is this
Yeah.
energy, ego, programming, fear, matrix, or is this
Right.
ego, whatever? And I think that it's really fascinating because I think that when you put stuff out there, if you are living what it is that you teach, you have to live what you teach. I am
Yeah.
always living what I teach. I am always learning. I'm learning from my clients. I'm learning from my own life. My life is not just because I'm a Reiki healer, I have a perfect life. No. You have to live what you teach. And I think what becomes the problem, you can put anything out there in the world that makes sense and is applicable and you can apply it to life, but if you are out there putting stuff into the world, into the zeitgeist or ether or whatever, and you're not living in your own life, I think the universe responds to that because that is inauthentic and you are then a preacher. You are not a teacher. Like, I swear to God, if I am in my super low vibe, not paying attention to my wounded inner child or whatever it is, my client schedule will be like just enough to get me by in my personal life, like money wise, bill wise.
Hmm.
And I know very quickly, it's like, ugh. I mean, sometimes my client schedule because it's quiet because the universe is like, you got shit to take care of. You can't like
Right.
be
Right.
working a lot. But if I am not living what it is that I teach, then I will be quiet. But the minute I say, oh, yes, yes, I know, I need to do that. Yes, I need to stop doing that. I need to like literally authentically put my big girl panties on and like stop doing this, because what do you teach people? What do you receive money from people to do? And then the minute I get back on the horse, I'm not even joking, within like 24 hours, it's like bing, 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 bing. Like that's communication with spirit. They're like, if you are not living what it is that you teach,
Yep.
sorry, you can't teach it.
Right. Exactly. It's like, you ask and you shall receive.
Oh my
Here's
gosh,
the
it's so
answer,
funny.
girl.
It's
And
so
then we
funny.
integrate it, and we forget it sometimes again, and it's okay.
Oh
We
my
come
gosh,
back,
totally normal.
right? Like, give yourself grace, cuz like, girl, this is not for the faint of heart,
No,
as we
you have
said
to be
before.
reminded. It's a reminder.
Yeah.
We get
This
so we get so comfortable. We have to be
yeah.
reminded.
Yeah. Just a little gentle. Actually, yes. I talk about low vibe. This is the last thing I'm gonna say. I'm gonna wrap us up. But oh Lord, again, coming out of a couple months of just, low energy. I had to
Yeah.
go in. I had to do all the feels. I'm still feeling everything out. But um I was real. Oh Lord, like I couldn't stop the tears one morning. It was
Hmm.
crazy. I went in, I had to have blood work done. And the girl's taking my, she's wrapping my arm or whatever. And I mean, it was like almost involuntary. Like I could not, and I apologized. I was like, I'm sorry. I'm having a morning. I don't know what's happening. Like, I just can't. And she's like, oh, don't apologize. So sweet, right? So I go in, and I had to do like a second test. I go in, I'm done. And so, in other words, she had a moment and she handed me a note. She's like, read this when you get in your car. I'm like, oh no. I'm like, it's going to get worse now. And
No, it's probably
get
so
in.
good.
No, it just, like, just going to have the more of a response.
Yeah.
Like, somebody cares now. Now I'm more, right? So I go in the car. I actually posted it. It's on my page. Her name was Soul, by the
Mhm.
way. I'm
Not
like,
coincidence. Not
hey, I'm
coincidence.
like soul or like the sun, either one. Exactly, right? And I don't let any of that shit pass me by, right? But, remember you're a strong woman. Sometimes you have a hard time and you just need a hug or a day in bed or a cup of tea or just, a rest, and you get back on that horse and you keep going because you're
That's
strong or
right.
whatever. And I'm like, "Ah." And I texted it because I had already let my girlfriend know I'm having a hard day, blah, blah, blah. And I texted her and she goes, there are angels everywhere reminding us who we are. There,
Yes.
I go, and it's just, I could be that on better days. Like you said, like when I'm doing my thing and I'm in it, I am that to every single person in my life if they need me to be.
Mhm.
Thank God I have that, that reciprocated when I need it. I've cultivated my circle of people who will
Yeah.
say the things, and those people, who will show up for me, literally reminders, just reminders everywhere. If you're just conscious enough and you just wake up enough and you trust it enough, there are
Mhm.
just reminders everywhere
Mhm.
that you are not alone.
Yep.
You are connected. We are connected in
Yes.
every way
Yes.
possible.
In every way possible.
There is
Yes.
not really that distinct a difference between us.
Nope.
There is a full-on gray area,
Yes.
and we are
Yes.
living in it.
Yes.
Maybe we need to have a part
Let's
2
all
that
bring it
talks
back to
about the
here.
gray
Oh my
area.
gosh, I could so talk about what is going on in the world because it's just a lot of wounded inner child
Yeah,
energy
babe.
that wants to
Yeah,
be
babe.
hugged and loved. And man, with the vibration of this world, go.
Yep. Yep.
Healing starts in here,
100,
always. Yeah.
100%. This is beautiful. Before I let you go, is there anything else that you need to tell whoever's listening?
Oh my gosh.
Is there anything else?
No, you
We
know
did a
what?
lot.
There's all these podcasts. I'm just all, and even my own podcast, I'm just all about like authentic
Yep.
conversations and not performance. And so
100%.
I'm just here to talk and have a conversation with you and reconnect with you. And I think it's beautiful how we reconnected in general. And by the way, because of your art show, your mental health art show, my Korean adoptee community, that's like a whole other conversation. Somebody actually reached out to me. She saw that I had a photograph at your thing, and I never met her. And she's a Korean adoptee like I am. And I didn't know she lived in this area. I was never met her. And I was in a group with her in a Korean adoptee group and a community on Facebook. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I live so and so. I'm gonna come from work. I want to come to that show." I'm like, "Okay, that's great. I don't know you, but that's cool." So she came, Justine, and she was there and she hung out, and it was like it didn't feel like we didn't know each other. We never met, right? And so she goes, she's an artist, and she's like, "This is really cool, blah 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 blah." And then she reached out to me and she said, the Korean adoptee is called, also known as organization. It's pretty much based out of Manhattan. They have like little chapters all over the country, but the people in New Jersey, she reached out to me in the last couple of weeks and she said, "Renee," she's like, I talked to the head of blah blah blah. She's like, "And I really think we should do something like for our community around like what you did in Fairlawn
Mhm,
with the mental
mhm.
health art show." So when she gets back from vacation, we're going to talk about it. So I'm like, I think it's great. And it happened at the right time because I think if she had asked me to do this like 6 months ago, I would have been like, no, my
Right.
nervous system can't handle all of that. But no, you know what? Just meet yourself where you're at every day. Try to be present, try to not live in the past. Past is for learning, sitting right now because there's so much here that you can root into, and breadcrumbs being placed before you to get you to that thing in the future. And just know that none of us are perfect. And one of my favorite things to tell people is every day is the first day of the rest of your life. That no matter what's happened to you, what you've put out into the world, good, bad, the ugly, that every day is an opportunity to start over. You can always start over. So just love the crap out of yourself through this life, and just know that every day is a new day.
Unbelievable. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you
so much for chatting with me today. Again, Renee Jensen, go check out the podcast, Intuitive AF Squared. Don't forget it.
1111healing.com. Come check me out.
Please do. And yeah, hopefully we'll get to continue this conversation. I'm sure we can go on for days.
Yes.
Days and days.
You're going to come on my podcast.
I'm so ready, girl. Whenever you're ready, I'm ready. Beautiful.
All right.
Thank